Have you ever heard of a book that no one alive can read? Not because it's in an old language, not because the words have faded with time, but because the writing doesn't belong to any language we've ever known. This is the Voynich Manuscript, a book so strange, so silent, and so unsolved that it still haunts the brightest minds in the world. Discovered over 100 years ago, but created more than 600 years ago. This book has no title. Its author is unknown. Its pages are filled with drawings of impossible plants, alien-like stars, and naked women bathing in strange tubs of liquid. And a script, neat, careful, and written with purpose, but completely unreadable. People have tried. Cryptographers, linguists, historians, mathematicians, even artificial intelligence. They've all stared into its pages. They've all asked the same questions. Who wrote this? What does it mean? Why can't we read it? And the book? It never answers. Now imagine this. You find this book in a forgotten chest. Its cover is worn, its spine cracked. You open it, and the writing is beautiful, but meaningless. You flip through the pages, no page numbers, no familiar letters, no known language, just flowing, looping text, and drawings that look like they belong in a dream or a nightmare. How would you feel? Would you think it's a puzzle, a trick, or something sacred, meant only for those who can truly see? Some believe the manuscript is a medieval hoax, an elaborate scam created to impress kings or scholars. But if it's a hoax, it's one of the most complex hoaxes in human history. Over 200 pages, consistent handwriting, logical structure, even the mysterious Voynich language follows grammar-like patterns, like a real language, but one we've never heard before. And if it's not a hoax, then what is it? Could it be a medical book? Written in a lost tongue? A coded diary? An alchemical recipe guide passed through secret societies? Or could it be something else entirely? Something not meant for our time, or even our species? Because here's the part that makes this story more than a curiosity. The Voynich Manuscript defies time. It doesn't just hide its meaning, it resists translation. And no matter how much we learn about history, science, or language, this book stays just out of reach. It's like it's alive, watching us, always one step ahead. The words on its pages seem to follow rules, but they don't mean anything we can recognize. The images, familiar shapes twisted just enough to make you question what you're seeing. Nothing in this book gives you solid ground to stand on. And maybe that's the point. Maybe the book isn't broken. Maybe we are the ones missing the tools to understand it. And that thought, that there could be knowledge too deep, too ancient, or too foreign for us to grasp, is both humbling and terrifying. Over the next few minutes, we'll walk through the pages of this mystery. We'll learn about the man who discovered it, the strange clues hidden in its drawings, the desperate attempts made by scholars and machines to unlock its code, and the wild theories, some logical, others unbelievable, that try to explain what this book is. Because this isn't just a story about a manuscript. It's a story about human curiosity, about obsession, and about the questions we're still afraid to ask. Is the Voynich Manuscript hiding forbidden knowledge? Was it written to protect a secret, one too dangerous to share? Or is it simply a mirror reflecting back our deepest fear that we are not yet ready to understand what it truly says? Whatever it is, the Voynich Manuscript remains what it's always been. A riddle, a whisper from the past, a book that shouldn't exist, but somehow does, and its story is only just beginning. In the year 1912, a rare book dealer named Wilfred Voynich was exploring an old Jesuit college in Frascati, Italy, just a short journey from Rome. He was not looking for a mystery, just rare books, ancient papers, things he could study or sell. But what he found was unlike anything else in the world. Inside the college's private library was a locked chest, a wooden box that hadn't been touched in generations. When it was finally opened, among old manuscripts and forgotten writings, there was one book that stood out. It was small, about 9 inches tall, rough parchment pages, no title, no author, no date. And the moment Voynich opened it, he knew he had found something strange. The pages were filled with handwritten script, but not in any language he recognized. No Latin, no Greek, no Arabic. It wasn't just unfamiliar, it was unreadable. And there were drawings, strange drawings, plants with roots like tentacles and leaves like stars, naked women bathing in green pools and standing inside tube-like structures, charts that looked like astronomical diagrams, but with suns and moons that didn't match our sky. It was a mix of botany, biology, alchemy, and astronomy, but all wrong, all alien. Wilfred Voynich wasn't just confused, he was fascinated, because this book didn't feel like nonsense. It felt intentional, carefully drawn, carefully written. Over 240 pages, every symbol and shape repeated like it had purpose. It looked like a book that was meant to be read. Only, no one could read it. Voynich didn't know it yet, but he had just uncovered one of the greatest literary mysteries in human history, a puzzle locked in time, a book that had survived centuries in silence. Waiting? But where did it come from? And more importantly, who wrote it? That's the real question. Because Voynich wasn't the first person to own the book. Inside the cover, he found a letter, written in Latin, dated to 1665. It was from a man named Johannes Marcus Marci, a physician and scholar in Prague. In this letter, Marci wrote that the book had once belonged to the Holy Roman Emperor Rudolph II, who ruled in the 16th century. Rudolph had apparently paid a huge sum, 600 gold ducats, to add the book to his collection. Why? Because he believed it was written by Roger Bacon, a famous English scientist and philosopher from the 13th century. If that were true, it would mean the book was already centuries old in the 1600s. But even then, no one knew what the book said. Not Marci, not Rudolph, not any of the scientists, linguists, or alchemists who tried to decode it. The book had been passed down like a sacred object, moving through private hands, hidden in libraries, locked in chests, protected, but never understood. When Voynich brought the manuscript back to England, then to the United States, he thought he could solve it. He believed that with time, the right people would unlock its meaning, that the strange writing, the bizarre drawings, and the secret structure would all make sense. But years passed, then decades, and no answer came. Linguists couldn't read the text. Historians couldn't place the style. Botanists couldn't match the plants. Even modern computers have failed to translate its code. It's as if the book was written in a language that never existed, or a language meant only for a few, or none at all. But the question remained, who created this book? Was it the work of a genius mind, someone centuries ahead of their time, an alchemist, a secret society, an alien visitor? Or was it something simpler, a hoax, a prank from the past? Even that theory doesn't fully explain the book's complexity, because if it's a hoax, it's one of the most elaborate fakes in human history. Over 170,000 characters, each carefully penned. Hundreds of images, each with meaning, or at least the illusion of it. Patterns in the script that follow rules like real language. But still, no translation. No one has ever found another book like it. No other text uses the same script. No duplicate images exist. Nothing compares. And this is where the story deepens. Because the Voynich Manuscript isn't just an unsolved mystery. It's a mirror reflecting how much we don't know, how much we still long to understand, how even in a world of advanced science and AI, one book can still outsmart us. The book speaks, but not in words we can hear. It whispers across time, across minds, and it dares us to listen, to search, to question. Because the deeper you go into the Voynich Manuscript, the more it pulls you in. Each page says nothing and everything. Each drawing tells no story, yet it captures your imagination. And that's the power of this book. It's not just a mystery to be solved, it's an experience, a test, and maybe a message from someone, somewhere, long ago, or maybe from something that doesn't want to be found. But if the discovery of the Voynich manuscript left more questions than answers, then the journey to uncover its origin will take us even deeper into the unknown. Where was this book truly written? And could the ink, the paper, and the stars themselves reveal the truth? Let's turn the next page. When Wilfred Voynich first uncovered the strange, undecipherable book in 1912, no one had any idea where it came from or how old it really was. At first, some thought it might be a clever hoax, something made in the 1600s to impress, or maybe even scam, the Holy Roman Emperor, who was obsessed with science and magic. But in the early 2000s, scientists did something no one had done before. They used carbon dating, a modern tool that measures the age of ancient material, on the pages of the manuscript itself. And the result? The parchment dated back to between 1404 and 1438. That means this book is over 600 years old, older than the printing press, older than Columbus discovering America, even older than most European exploration. The book wasn't made in the 1600s. It was created during the Middle Ages, a time of knights, castles, plagues, and deep superstition. But even stranger, it wasn't written in any language we know. Not Latin, not Greek, not Hebrew or Arabic. Linguists, cryptographers, even military codebreakers have studied it for decades, but none of them could find a match. No alphabet, no grammar, no known root language. The Voynich manuscript doesn't fit anywhere in human history. Its writing is so unique, researchers gave it a name of its own, Voynich. Now think about that for a second. In a time when most people couldn't even read or write, someone or some group created an entire book in a language that didn't exist before and hasn't appeared since. That takes planning. That takes time. That takes purpose. But what was the purpose? Why would someone go through the trouble of making such a complex book that no one could understand? Some believe it was a monk, a lonely scholar in a quiet monastery, trying to protect secret knowledge from falling into the wrong hands. Others say it was a secret society. Hidden groups in medieval Europe were known to pass down sacred knowledge about nature, the stars, the body, and the soul. To outsiders, it looked like magic. To them, it was truth. There's also a theory that the book came from someone suffering from a rare disorder, someone who saw the world differently and recorded it in their own invented language. But then, there are theories that go far beyond Earth. Some people believe the Voynich manuscript is not human at all, that it's a message from something or someone not of this world. Why? Because the images don't match anything in our reality. Plants that don't grow here, stars that don't align with our skies, naked figures floating in pools connected by tubes and strange machinery. It's like a dream, written down, or a memory from a different place entirely. Still, others think the book may be a lost key to ancient wisdom, a map to how the universe works, hidden in symbols and patterns too deep for modern eyes to see. Some believe the book might even talk to the subconscious, that its true meaning is felt, not read, a message to awaken something buried deep inside us. We don't know, but here's what we do know. This wasn't random. Whoever created this book, whether it was one person, a group, or something unknown, they didn't just scribble on parchment. They followed rules. They repeated symbols and patterns like real language. They placed drawings carefully like puzzle pieces, and they made it look like it was meant to be read, but not by just anyone, by someone who could understand. So what was the book trying to say? Was it science, magic, a warning, a guide, or was it simply art, a mysterious creation made to last? We still don't have the answers. But one thing is certain, the Voynich manuscript was written with intention. Its language, its drawings, its secrets, all carefully hidden beneath ink and code, waiting. And maybe whoever wrote it believed someone, someday, would unlock it. Maybe that someone is yet to come. But to uncover the meaning of the Voynich manuscript, we must do more than guess. We must look closer at the words, the symbols, and the code, because behind its mysterious script lies something even more puzzling, a pattern too perfect to ignore. Let's dive into the Voynich script and cipher, So far, we've uncovered how the Voynich Manuscript is older than we ever imagined, over 600 years old and written in a language no one understands. But what's actually inside this book? What fills its 240 pages? The answer is simple, and yet completely strange. Everything, and nothing we recognize. Because once you open the book, you step into a world that doesn't follow the rules of our own. The first thing you'll see is plants. Page after page of beautiful detailed drawings. Roots, leaves, flowers. But none of these plants exist. Not a single one can be matched with real botany. It's as if someone imagined a whole new earth, a place with its own forests, herbs, and ecosystems, and then carefully recorded each plant in full color. Some look close to real ones, almost familiar. But look again, and you realize something's off. Leaves bend in impossible ways. Flowers grow from stems that split and twist unnaturally. So what are they? Medicinal herbs from a forgotten land? Or symbols? Metaphors? Was the author trying to describe nature? Or invent a new one? Then, as you flip the pages, the world shifts. Suddenly, you're in the stars. Constellations, circular diagrams, wheels within wheels. This is the astronomical section. But again, none of these stars match the sky above us. No known zodiac. No known map of the night. There are suns and moons. There are strange symbols that might represent planets, or maybe entire worlds. What were they tracking? Time, energy, magic? Or was this an attempt to explain the universe from a different point of view? And then comes the strangest part of all, the biological section. Dozens of pages filled with naked women, drawn in strange, almost childlike style, bathing in pools, floating in tubes, surrounded by gears, spirals, and strange machines. Some of these women are holding stars. Some are connected to vines or funnels. Some are half submerged, as if inside a living system. It looks like a mix of science, myth, and dream. Were these women symbols of creation, a guide to human life, reproduction, or something far more mystical? Some researchers say it looks like a medical text, maybe even a guide to fertility. Others say it looks like a spiritual initiation, a transformation of the soul shown through the body. And still others believe it's a representation of energy, moving through forms between stars and water. But one thing is certain, it doesn't look like anything else in human history. Next comes the pharmaceutical section, rows of little containers, drawings of plant roots, strange recipes written in that same unknown script. They look like instructions, maybe potions, maybe medicines. But again, we can't read a word. No one knows what the recipes are for. The plants are unidentifiable. The measurements are unreadable. It's like finding a cookbook from another reality. One meant to heal or to transform. A guide for the body and the spirit. Or perhaps for something beyond both. So we're left with a question. What exactly is this book? Is it a medical manual created by a lost civilization? Is it a spiritual text meant to guide the soul through unseen dimensions? Is it a book of alchemy, of healing, of creation? Or is it something else entirely? A map of consciousness? A message left for the future? Or perhaps a puzzle that has no answer? We've seen books of knowledge. We've seen sacred texts, scientific diagrams, and works of art. But the Voynich Manuscript feels like all of them, and none of them. It's as if it was made not for the people of its time, but for someone else. Maybe someone who could see more, or someone who knew how to read with more than just eyes. And still, one truth remains. Despite the plants, the stars, the women, the recipes, we cannot read a single word, not even one. For over 600 years, every expert who studied this book has hit the same wall. The writing cannot be cracked. So how was it written? What kind of language hides behind those letters? And is it truly a language at all? To answer that, we need to dig even deeper, because the most mysterious part of this book might not be what's drawn on the pages, but what's written between the lines. Let's now explore the script and cipher, and how a language without meaning might hold the greatest meaning of all. We've seen the pages, mysterious plants, unknown stars, strange rituals and recipes that feel like alchemy. But the real mystery is not just in the drawings, it's in the words. Because every single page of the Voynich manuscript is filled with writing, line after line, paragraph after paragraph, written in a language no one on earth has ever spoken. This language doesn't appear in any other book. No ancient scrolls, no forgotten tribes, no lost civilization has ever used it. We call it Voynichese, but no one knows what it really is. For over 100 years, the best minds have tried to crack it. World War II codebreakers, experts who once broke secret enemy messages in wartime, spent months staring at these pages. They used the same tools they used to crack German Enigma codes, the same logic, the same math, the same techniques, and they failed. Not one word could be translated. Then came the computers. In the 2000s, linguists and scientists turned to artificial intelligence. They fed the text into powerful algorithms, tools that can learn languages, recognize patterns, decode even the most complex ciphers. The results? Still, nothing. Some AI models said, yes, this looks like a real language. The letters follow rules. The words repeat with patterns. It doesn't look random, but still, they couldn't tell us what it means. Now here's where things get even stranger. Most fake languages like made-up codes or gibberish are messy. They don't follow real rules, but Voynichese does. In fact, it follows rules too well. Statistical analysis shows that the way words are formed, the way they appear, repeat, and change over time, is exactly how natural languages behave. It's as if someone built a language so perfect, it feels real, even though no one's ever spoken it. There are over 25 characters in the alphabet. They repeat in certain ways. Some words only appear in certain sections, like plant pages or astrology pages. It even has grammar-like structure. Some characters tend to show up at the start of a word, others in the middle, others at the end. That's exactly what you see in real languages, like English, Latin, or Arabic. But when you try to match these patterns to any known language, nothing fits. Not Latin, not Greek, not Hebrew, not anything from Europe, Asia, or Africa. It's not a code from another culture. It's a language from nowhere. Here's another mystery. The words are too repetitive. In normal languages, you don't usually repeat the same word 5 or 6 times on one page. But the Voynich manuscript does. It often repeats near identical words over and over, with tiny changes. One letter added or removed, like someone was playing with sound or rhythm. Some experts believe it could be musical. Others say it could be a form of glossolalia, a trance-like writing where a person enters an altered state and writes without conscious control. So what does that mean? Did someone invent an entirely new language just to hide secrets? Or was the writer trying to copy the look of real language without caring what it meant? Was it a code, a hoax, or a message meant for someone not of this world? One expert described it best. It's too structured to be nonsense, but too foreign to be known. And that leads us to the next mystery. If it's not gibberish, if it's not a hoax, if it's not from any known culture, then what do people think it really is? That's where the theories begin. Some believe it's ancient science hidden on purpose. Others think it's an alien message, and some say it's a forgotten form of knowledge that once made sense long ago and might still be waiting to be understood. Let's now dive into the theories to explore what the Voynich manuscript might really be. For over 600 years, the Voynich manuscript has stayed silent. No one has read it, no one has translated it, no one has truly understood it. But that hasn't stopped the world from guessing. Theories, thousands of them, have been born from its pages, some logical, some wild, and some that sound like they were written by the book itself. Let's walk through the most powerful theories people believe today and see just how deep this rabbit hole goes. This is one of the oldest ideas, that the Voynich manuscript was never meant to be understood, because it was a scam. The theory says that hundreds of years ago, a clever scribe or trickster created this strange book, complete with odd plants, made-up symbols, and strange circles, just to fool a rich ruler or scholar. At that time, rare books were valuable, especially ones that claimed to be magical or ancient. So if someone wanted money or fame, what better way than to create a book full of mystery and pretend it had deep knowledge hidden in secret writing? Some researchers believe this is exactly what happened. But here's the problem. If it's fake, it's one of the most complicated fakes in history. Whoever wrote it invented an entire language system, one that obeys grammar rules, patterns, and structure. Why go that far? Why write 240 pages of consistent nonsense when you could just copy Latin or Greek and make a fake? And why would they add drawings no one can recognize? It feels like more than a hoax. It feels intentional. Another theory says it's not a fake. It's a real book, written in a real language. But that language has vanished from history, like how ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs were unreadable until the Rosetta Stone was found. Some believe the Voynich Manuscript uses a forgotten script, maybe from a destroyed civilization, or a small culture that left no trace. The challenge? We have no second sample. With no other writings to compare it to, decoding becomes almost impossible. Still, the patterns, the grammar, and the structure all suggest one thing. This may be a real language, just one that no longer exists. Now we enter the world of mystics and seekers. Some researchers believe the Voynich Manuscript is a spiritual guide, a book of alchemy, magic, and transformation. The strange plants could be healing herbs, not real ones, but symbolic ones. The women bathing in pools could represent rituals of purification. The stars and circles? They might be astrological charts, mapping spiritual energies or cosmic truths. Back in the 15th and 16th centuries, many books were written in codes to protect knowledge, not from enemies, but from the church, which often saw science or magic as dangerous. Maybe the author of the Voynich Manuscript wanted to hide truth about the body, the stars, or the soul, in symbols only the wise could understand. Yes, you heard that right. Some people believe the Voynich Manuscript might not be human at all. Could it be a message from another species, from aliens, or even time travelers? Imagine a visitor from another world or future trying to leave behind a message but using their own language, their own symbols, completely different from ours. Maybe the symbols aren't letters at all. Maybe the plants aren't plants. Maybe the entire book is visual information encoded in a way we simply haven't learned to see yet. Sounds far-fetched? Maybe. But nothing about this book is normal. And after 600 years of failure, people are beginning to ask, what if the answer is not from here? Some say the manuscript holds spiritual secrets, not just facts, but consciousness itself, that it speaks to parts of the brain we don't use anymore. Others believe it's channeled writing, written by someone in a trance, connecting with a higher force, or maybe even a machine of knowledge like a spiritual computer waiting to be activated. There are ideas that it's from Atlantis, that it holds codes from the stars, that it's a mirror, and the meaning changes depending on who reads it. Most of these theories are impossible to prove, but that hasn't stopped people from spending years, even decades, chasing them. And yet, nothing fits. Here's the truth. After all the theories, all the books, all the guesses, no one has found a solution that explains everything. None of the hoax theories explain the complexity. None of the language theories explain the strange art. And none of the mystical theories have cracked the code. The Voynich Manuscript remains a puzzle, a book that should not exist but does, a book no one can read but everyone wants to. And now, as we reach the final chapter, we have to ask the one question left. Why was it made? Because if we can't decode the message, maybe the message isn't what matters. Maybe it's the mystery itself. And in our final moments, let's explore exactly that. Why this book, unknown and unread, still pulls people in after centuries. Let's close the journey with truth no one tells. 600 years. That's how long the Voynich Manuscript has existed. Through war, peace, empires rising and falling, revolutions and digital revolutions, it has survived, unafraid of fire, untouched by understanding. People have died, languages have vanished, civilizations have changed, but the book remains, unread, unbroken, unbothered. Why? Why does this one strange book, with its odd plants, alien script, and silent pages, still pull us in? Historians have tried to explain it. Linguists have tried to crack it. Scientists have scanned it, tested it, fed it to AI. Still, it won't speak. Not one sentence, not one word, not one clear meaning. Other ancient texts, they eventually gave in. The Rosetta Stone unlocked Egyptian. Cuneiform was cracked. Linear B was deciphered. But the Voynich? Silence, like it's waiting or hiding. And in that silence, something strange happens to us. We start to wonder, what kind of person wrote this? Were they a genius? A mystic? A madman? Were they hiding something? Or setting a trap? Maybe they were just like us, curious, restless, wanting to leave something behind that could never be destroyed. And in that way, they won. Because this book is still here, still confusing us, still whispering questions into the ears of anyone who opens it. And maybe that's why it matters. Not because of what's in it, but because of how it makes us feel. It reminds us that the world still has secrets, that not everything can be Googled, that some things refuse to be understood. In a time where everything feels explained, the Voynich stands apart, silent, unsolved, almost alive. We live in a world that moves fast. We want quick answers, instant knowledge. But the Voynich doesn't care about speed. It teaches patience, curiosity, even obsession. Some researchers have spent decades studying just one page and still walk away with nothing but more questions. And yet, they come back again and again. Why? Because something about the book pulls us in. Maybe the Voynich was never meant to be read. Maybe it was meant to be felt, to wake up a part of us that's gone quiet, the part that dreams, the part that wonders, the part that still believes in magic, mystery, and meaning. Because every time we try to understand it, we're not just chasing answers, we're chasing ourselves. The Voynich Manuscript is more than a book. It's a mirror. It shows us how much we still don't know. It shows us the limits of our logic. It shows us the hunger we have for meaning. And in that way, it's the most honest book ever written. It doesn't give us answers. It gives us wonder. So maybe the question isn't, what does the book say? Maybe the real question is, why does it refuse to be understood? And maybe, just maybe, that's the point. Because some mysteries don't want to be solved. They want to live. The Voynich Manuscript isn't just a book. It's a challenge, a mirror, a mystery that stares right back at us. Hundreds of pages filled with symbols no one can understand, drawings of plants no one has ever seen, and women floating in strange green pools that defy logic. But even without understanding a single word, we feel it. A quiet voice calling from the past, asking questions no one can answer. For centuries it has whispered to kings and collectors, spies and scientists, but never revealed its truth, because maybe that was never the point. Maybe its purpose was never to be solved, but to make us think, to make us wonder. In a world obsessed with answers, the Voynich Manuscript dares to remind us, mystery still exists. And maybe, just maybe, that's where real magic begins. If this journey stirred something in you, if it sparked your curiosity, your imagination, or even just a moment of silence to wonder, then you're exactly the kind of mind this channel is made for. Tap like if you felt that pull, and subscribe to uncover more forgotten truths, hidden histories, and the questions that echo across time. Because together, we don't just chase answers, we honor the mystery.